this. Okay, and then remember the technique. We'll lighten it with just water. And again, clean brush and clean water. There it is. There it is. Punch a hole in this foam. Always try to keep the holes the same color that you see around it. It'd be lighter here, it'd be darker down in here. We'll come back and darken this in a minute. Right now, let's move over here to the main area because it is a special statement. Much bluer than we were before, but we'll change that. I'm leaving some little areas of foam, the white foam, to come back up into the translucent area. Just little fingers of it here and there, leaving the paper as our white. Okay, and we come clear across right up to where our rock will be. Okay. Okay, now back to the same process, cleaning the brush, water only. A little more green now that we've gotten past that blue area. A little more green that matches up over here. Lighter again. Now we're getting near this burst. And as we do that, remember what happens is the wave hits the rock, makes a big, big splash up. Now, as it splashes up, the color of the water becomes so aerated, it fades out into nothing. So from here on, we have to use just pure water in several stages to let that water become more and more and more translucent. And finally, way up into here, it fades off to nothingness. A little more pure water. Okay? And in the meantime, by just scratching over the surface, notice we've left little specks of white in here. That's perfect because that gives the effect of the spray coming in front. Now that we have this, let's go back and clean up some of these back edges. A little bit darker at the bottom. And then, again, the clean brush of water and blend it back up again. And I think that matches up across here much better than it did. Now in the foreground, I'm going to punch in some holes into this blanket of foam, and they should be fairly dark because it is a deeper area, much deeper, and there's no translucent water here. Now let me show you something about these foam holes. Look at this roll of tape. When you face straight onto it, you see it's full circle. But as I tilt it coming down the wave, it becomes more elliptical and more until it really flattens out. And that's what has to happen when you come down the wave. The more full circles, but down in here, flatter and flatter. That will give you also a contour. Now, vary the size and shapes of these holes, but do follow those contour rules. I'll make a nice large one here and maybe break it so there's a little foam across it. See? And then over here, once again. And what is happening is that this becomes a line of them. Rather than scatter them everywhere, try to group them so that they say something. They'll start in here and they'll lead you back up right into where we want you to look. Now, wash out my brush, go into a lighter color because this is coming forward now, and indicate that there's some water showing through the foam. Okay. right? You see what I've done here? It's a little bit muddled. I don't really care for it. So I'm going to take a clean, wet sponge and I'm just very carefully going to soften it down. That, right away, it's much, much better. This is a little too dark. We'll just soften it down a bit. Soften this. And keep turning the sponge so it's nice and clean. There we go. You don't want to overdo that sponge work because it can become rather messy. But I'm going to leave this as is for the time being. We're going to throw some shadows in later anyway. But that is much better than that big chunk of a hole that I did have there. And then we'll finalize a little bit of those holes by putting a few over in this area. Fairly blue. Don't forget the green. Again, it's Viridian. Now, this is